Hill from over here. All right, let's go ahead and let's call the Planning Commission, Athens Planning Commission for September 24th to order. I'll start with a roll call.
Chair Lane,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Polito,
Here.
Commissioner Lugers,
Here.
Commissioner Levison,
Here.
Commissioner Tonelli. Here. All members in attendance.
All right, very good. The next item on the agenda is for public comments that are for items that aren't on the agenda. It allows us to hear things, feedback on things that have happened and get an update on something or informed of something. So I'll go ahead and open up the public comment section for things that aren't on the agenda, if anybody's here to do that. And nobody's running to the microphone. So I'm going to close the public comment section, open and close. And then we'll go ahead with item 3, the approval of minutes from July 23rd. It was accurate, I can tell.
No.
I agree.
Moved.
Second.
Second, Jerry. And we'll go with item 4, which is the public hearing segment. And for those of you that process is we start all the items with the overview from staff, and we have questions from to staff, and then we open up for public comment. We start with the applicant or their representative. We close comments and bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. And we'll do that every time somebody comes in the room or comes online. I'm going to go through so everybody's on the same page of what the process is, so they don't feel left out. So with that, the first item is item 4A. This is for the master plan report for Menlo Schools. So, staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Brittany Bendix, Town Planner. I just want to quickly introduce this item. All of our private schools are required to provide an annual update as part of the institutional master plan requirement. We do see sometimes some situations where the school will pair this request or this update with a conditional use authorization request. In this circumstance, for Menlo School today, we'll be hearing from the school representatives, but they're not necessarily asking for any approvals from the Planning Commission. This is simply an annual report on their current activities. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to the school and they can share with you a summary of what was included in their report this year.
So there will be acceptance of motion and things like that at the end, but it won't.
Correct.
Very good. All right, that's it. Go ahead and open the public comments and we'll start.
Evening, Commissioners. Nice to see you. Thank you for hosting us, and thank you for reading through our master plan. We know there was a lot in there. We know you all read it carefully.
Thinner than last year. So
Scintillating reading. Are you counting pages?
yeah, it was.
We'll work with you on that. We'll use AI and cut it down next year. A couple things I'll call your attention to that are contained in the report. Our enrollment for the 24-25 school year was 805. Which is the enrollment cap established by the town in our CUP. You will recall that the Planning Commission granted us an enrollment increase of 5% or 40 students over 4 years, provided that we maintain our traffic commitments to the town and to our neighbors. So the information in this master plan report tracks those commitments, the move from 795 students to 805 students, and our traffic count, which as you can see on page 19, dropped to 598 morning trips against a target of 627.
589, right?
589, and 411 against an afternoon target of 453. I will say we're really proud of these numbers. They represent a community-wide effort to reduce trips to our campus, especially in the mornings where our neighbors most feel the crunch of traffic on Valparaiso Avenue. I think it's worth noting that over the 11 years that we've been tracking this data, last year was the third lowest morning traffic number if we don't include the COVID years, which were artificially low because of limited attendance on our campus. That to me is impressive, especially if you take it from the perspective of the fact that the enrollment was bigger than in any of those previous years. So we heard your challenge to us last year as a council to not just meet, but reduce our traffic to campus particularly in the mornings, and we feel that we've responded to that challenge. As always, we meet with our neighbors annually, commitment to communication that we've continued. The meeting last spring was quite cordial, relatively lightly attended, which we take as a good sign. And no major issues arose from our neighbors. Finally, I'll call your attention to page 15, where we referenced an updated arborist report that would happen in July. I think we submitted this in May. Our last arborist report was close to 10 years ago. And what's important to us is that our natural landscape and our trees are just really a key part of our educational environment. We feel better having completed a thorough assessment to determine necessary maintenance and care, especially as climate conditions change. So you might be interested to know that our arborist, we work with Davy Tree, identified 410 trees comprised of 30 different species on our campus. Of those, 230 trees are considered heritage trees, which we're really proud of. Nearly 80% of the trees on our campus were rated good or fair. We would love more in the excellent category, but only 4 were in critical condition or dead, which may require removal. So 410 trees, 4 that we may have to take out. I think we're doing a pretty good job. And this is key to us, not just for environmental reasons, but for educational reasons. It adds to the environment that our kids get to come to when they come to campus to learn. So with that overview, happy to take your questions if you have them. Thanks for reading through our packet.
Did you see this slide?
I did. Happy to speak to it if the commissioners would like me to.
I just wanted to double check on the, you are counting Alejandro. Are you?
We don't have an Alejandro. You're talking about the entrance in off of by Wonderlic. That's a gated entrance, and only staff and faculty have access to that. It's a keyed entrance, so students can't enter there.
That's not included in the traffic study?
No, we were only required to count coming in through Valparaiso, which is where the student drop off and parking is.
And so address the issue that the decision
Sure.
to the field.
Yeah, so as I understand it, Mr. Kayworth's concern is not necessarily the traffic count through Valparaiso, but he's concerned that our students are coming to the general vicinity and that they're parking on Valparaiso or they're parking in downtown Menlo Park. And
So this is Stephanie Disher, though.
oh, I don't have that one.
All right, here, read it.
I was talking about, I thought you were talking about the Kayworth one.
Just came in right before from the Kings about just overall usage on Wonderlic Field. Is that for your?
Oh, got it. I'll need to read it
Yeah.
before I respond, but happy to respond.
All right, go ahead and read it and I'll bring you back.
Okay.
Is there anybody else here to speak? Go ahead and go through it and I'll ask and we'll questions as staff. Go ahead and close the public hearing. Line that's needed. Item.
No one online has indicated a public comment on this item.
I'll go ahead and close the public comment. Questions? By the way, I'm talking about received just before.
Got it.
Sure. At 69 Alejandro Avenue, which is next. She brings up issues around the usage of the field. So onto the field. Wants to have a meeting, which would not be appropriate. Follow up to it with. Historically, there's always been an issue with that field, around the field. So as long as the 13 and a half years, it's always been an annual thing. Just to ask you to keep. Anything else? Questions?
Yeah, I have one. Both the staff report and the school master plan talks about what you will not do. One of them is allow community and professional theater or performances. So what is music at Menlo?
Would you like me to respond to that? Yeah.
Go ahead and open it for public.
Music at Menlo is
I mean, I know what it is, but it certainly to me would qualify as theater or
Music at Menlo is a 501c3 that's under Menlo School, so it's actually part of the school. We consider it a school program. It's not its own 501c3. So it's a nonprofit that exists within, always has, exists within Menlo School itself. It's a program of the school. This is not an outside rental. This is not an outside performance. This is,
our students that are performing. I'm gone.
it has a significant student component to it, but that's always been the case. If the town would like to have Music at Menlo cease to exist, we could certainly see to that. That's not an important part of
I
our
just-
program, but
Let's talk about the accuracy within the statement.
yeah,
Yeah, I just think that statement needs to be correct in some way, shape, or form.
Just say, except for that, usage includes only students and that would just clear it up.
okay, we'll make
It's,
that amendment.
it's not a big issue, but, again, going way, way back, all we're trying to do is make sure that we're very consistent with the way things from the school, because you've done a great job of getting things
That's fine.
calmed down from where they were.
Yeah.
But, every time you got a school next to people's homes, it's
Happy
gonna
to
be an
do it.
issue.
It's been around for 23 years. We're happy to make that
It
amendment.
might be worthwhile next report too, just so it's like, even though you share that field, press some of the things. Concerns.
Okay. Would you like me to, I haven't finished the letter yet.
Yeah,
Would you
go
like me to
ahead.
finish it and then respond? Okay.
Oh. We might go ahead and move it, we might go ahead and make, but you can come out as soon as you're ready to.
Well, no, I just think that the letter's worth considering. I mean, it's well thought out, well written. They actually, obviously, I'd say put some thought into it. Menlo School's been a great partner with the town, and at least in my experience on the planning commission, and always appreciate the due diligence that they do with their master plan and moving forward. The letter's worth considering, and I think we need to, kind of look at things. I don't know where the discussion leads, other than maybe a conversation between the school and the resident. One of the things I noticed about the letter, though, is it's just really just about general traffic, it seems like, and activity, and that's kind of hard to pin down. There's not any specific complaint that we can address, actively. So that would lead to, I think, some sort of discussion between the school and the neighbor, and I think we need to get at least some kind of consideration from the school that they will take steps to talk to the neighbor. I can understand the concerns. I drive down Alejandra almost every weekday during the fall, and I do see the increase in traffic, so I kind of sympathetic or empathetic, at least, with what the neighbor is mentioning, even though there are no specifics. So I think it's something that we should, if we do go ahead and approve the master plan, that we need to at least acknowledge and somehow address the neighbor's concerns.
That corner is getting much more traffic in terms of people turning across. I'm coming up to that corner and almost asked my wife to get out of the crossing so I can get
I've done it.
across.
I've done it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Lane. Town Planner Brittany Bendix. I just wanted to point out that we do actually have a member of the public that is requesting to speak if you want to consider going back and opening that public comment again. And then secondly, I just want to clarify once more that this isn't about accepting or approving a master plan update. It's just receiving the report.
Right, it's an informational thing.
Thank you.
Since we have so we don't have any purview over the school from the standpoint of running it, the school has been very cooperative with making sure that we're up to speed on things.
Absolutely.
And it's more about work with planning issues that are generated by whatever changes they. So let's go ahead. Who's on the screen?
I've asked them to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Roshanak. I just wanted to share that the main council member sitting in the center cuts in and out. I think the microphone has an issue. We can hear Brittany or the gentleman from
Okay.
Menlo very clearly, but some
Right,
of the
thank you.
council members are cutting in and out. Thank you.
I didn't have the microphone super close to my mouth, so thank you for telling me that.
Sure. Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you. So for the record, I open and close the public comment section for that input. All right, are you ready to speak? All right, go ahead. I'm going to open the public comment again. Go ahead.
Ms. Disher is somebody that we work with frequently. She's somebody that my colleague, Amr Chima, who's our Director of Operations, has regular communication and contact with on all manner of topics, ranging from rats that come to her house that she's convinced come from our garbage cans to balls flying over the fence and things like that. So we have regular contact with her. A couple of things just to point out to the commission. Her enrollment number is inaccurate. It's a couple hundred off. So
Right.
1,600, 17, I think is the exact enrollment of the school and college combined this year. I also disagree with the college's assessment that the increase in traffic is from parents and students that use the college entrance to pick up and drop off. We do have staff and faculty who park back there, but it's a finite number of spots, and it's gated, as I said. So a couple of things just to correct the record, but happy to work with Ms. Disher and continue to work with her going forward. I don't think that we have significant increases in our usage out there in terms of the hours of operation and things like that. We may have more kids on the field, but we haven't changed the hours that were of use or anything like that. We are limited, and this isn't a setup in any way, but if you're new to the commission, we're limited by the fact that our main football field out at Carton is natural grass, and as such can't be used very often because it falls apart pretty quickly from overuse, whereas the other fields that are turfed can be used more regularly. And I would anticipate if we ever got to a place where the Planning Commission, if we were able to recommend a project out there and the Planning Commission were able to be supportive of it, I would imagine that a turf field out there would alleviate some of the intensity of use at Wonderlic, and I think that would be good for everybody. Our idea at Carton, I mean, of course, there are neighbors everywhere, but at Carton, we're bounded on one side by El Camino Real. I think we could anticipate moving the field closer to El Camino, away from any neighbors as much as possible. It doesn't solve the problem, but at least alleviates it. I think that's probably the most material impact that we could make, and it's only been 13 years that I've been working on such an approval, but I would love it if we could get in front of you at some point and have a project that meets the needs of the neighbors and serves them and also meets the needs of the school and the college going forward. So we'll keep working on that.
All right.
Great.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and close the public comment section. Any other comments? Any questions? Okay, then I need a motion. A motion to accept. I'll move to accept the report.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None, and no abstention. So thank you. Thank you again. And just keep, it's going to be a life work, anytime everybody's close. So just keep the dialogue going and do what you can. You've come so far in terms of your relationships with the neighbors compared to what it was 14 years ago. So thank you. All right, the next item 4B is a request for a front setback variance and heritage tree removal at 84 Alena Avenue. And we'll go ahead and we'll start with the same procedure with a staff overview.
Good evening, Commissioners, Town Planner Brittany Bendix once again. Give me one moment while my colleague here brings up the slides. So we have tonight before you a variance request and heritage tree removal request at 84 Alena Avenue. We do have the town arborist participating remotely tonight, but she is available on Zoom. Our recommendation tonight is that the Planning Commission deny both the front setback variance, which would facilitate construction of a detached accessory building serving a purpose as a gym in a roofed open area that's attached to the main residence with that is within the respective front setbacks, and then to also deny the proposed removal of 2 heritage trees that accommodate this construction. One of the heritage trees is an Atlas cedar tree, known as tree number 2 in the staff report, and the other is a deodar cedar tree, noted as tree number 3. This slide is just a general overview of the project location. It's a 1.24 acre flag lot in the R1A zoning district. It's fully enclosed by neighboring properties, as you'll see by its flag lot shaped. It is owned under common ownership with the property at 70 Alena. And you'll see it's just across the Circus Club and generally in the center of town. The proposal on this site is a new single-family residence of approximately 2,300 square feet and a detached accessory building at 1,180 square feet. Next slide. As we look a little closer at the site plan, you'll see that the proposed development is located closer to the neighboring property under adjacent owner or under common ownership. But then also more forwardly located on the lot. For purposes of addressing the front setback requirement, it's taken at that front lot line that runs parallel to Alena and just off of the flagpole of the flag lot. Next slide. Looking more closely, this is the portion of the roofed area that's triggering the variance request. It's required to be set back 60 feet from the property line, and it's roughly 56 feet, 11 inches. I believe it's only about 9 square feet in area to the portion that's projecting. Next slide. The more substantial request is the location of the accessory detached building. The front setback requirement for a detached structure is 120 feet from the front setback, from the front property line, or 30 feet behind the main house, whichever is less. In this case, the building wall is generally in alignment with the main building. It's not recessed, and the resulting front setback from the front property line is 30 feet, 2 inches. Next slide, please. Relative to the proposed heritage tree removal request, you can see the identification of the 2 trees that are proposed for removal called out here in red. The trees that are highlighted in green are actually the replacement trees that are proposed. We've also included in the staff report and here on the slides photos of the 2 trees that were found to be beyond dead or dangerous, which is why they require Planning Commission review for approval. The required findings for variances are pretty strict. It requires special circumstances applicable to the property. This includes the size, shape, topography, location, or any sort of specific surroundings that would justify the variance. It would require that the commission find that there's not a special privilege being granted to this property, that it would not adverse the interests of the public or residents and property owners within the vicinity, and that the overall variance approval would be consistent with the objectives of the general plan and zoning code. One of the concerns from staff specific to the variance is a location towards the neighbor at, I believe, 82 Alena. Which has their rear yard directly against the 2 shared ownership lots, which impacts their ability to connect to the greater open space that you typically see with lots that share common rear yard areas. Next slide. Then we have the required findings for heritage tree removals for consideration by the Planning Commission. I've included this slide in here because I think we've been discussing these quite regularly in recent removals. So I just wanted to go over them too and make sure that we have them available for reference. We have the probability of failure, which is a function of the heritage tree and site conditions. Probability of a public safety hazard, personal injury, or significant property damage. The number, species, size, and location of existing trees in the area and the effect of the requested exception. General good forestry practices. The allowance for operation of existing solar panels, and then the demonstration of a lack of a feasible alternative. So here, what the town arborist stated is as shown in the application. There are at least 3 alternatives that they thought were feasible. With that finding, it makes it difficult to support then the variance request without the ability to justify the heritage tree removal. So that's one of the challenges I found as planning staff in aligning the town arborist's recommendation of denial with potential support for a variance. With that said, we did also receive a letter from the neighbor that I shared with you, I believe yesterday, indicating that they also did not support the variance request. Next slide. Forgot about the alternative slide. So this slide drives home my point about the alternative locations that justified the town arborist report that felt all 3 of these alternatives were viable. And so the removals were not necessary to support the location of the detached structure. Next slide.
What's the use of the detached structure, do you know?
It's a gym. So our recommendation is that the Planning Commission deny both requests, the variance and the tree removals. That concludes my presentation, and myself and the town arborist are both available for any questions.
The removal of tree 2 is because it would be a driveway or something there? Is that why?
I believe both 2 and 3. Let me pull it up.
3 is just because of the proximity to the attached unit. I can see that one, but 2, I don't understand.
Sally, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So tree 2 would be for the driveway, and tree number 3 would be for the proposed building.
All right, and why would there be a driveway to the accessory building?
That is a question I can't answer.
Okay. All right. And I looked at the trees, I actually see enough as I went down the driveway there. You're saying that the condition of tree 2 is okay?
Tree 2, I mean, it is in the mound and it is rated as fair, but yeah, it wouldn't be something I could approve at staff level.
Yeah, it's an ugly tree. Can it
But
be
tree
moved?
number 3, the arborist report says it's slightly one-sided, but again, it's not in poor health. And so it wasn't something I could approve. I would have looked at that more carefully if there wasn't a viable alternative location, but because there are 3 viable locations, then it's something I just can't recommend.
Right. Right, any other questions? All right, I'll go ahead then and open up public comment, and we'll hear from the applicant or the representative. All right, we'll come on, you're first.
Oh, okay. Our purpose
Go ahead and introduce yourself, just for the record.
I'm Shweta Siraj Mehta, one of the applicants for this variance.
Okay.
And our purpose in procuring this lot was really to have a bigger backyard and to have as low an environmental footprint as we could. So we're not trying to build, Elena is just now seeing a lot of turnover, and there are 3 homes coming up on Elena.
Right.
We actually thought that this would be a really nice addition to the neighborhood, just in terms of it being more of a park-like setting, a single-story building. And what's really important to us is the heritage oak that we have in front of that gym. That is what's really guiding the location of the gym. We're trying to stay as far back from the heritage oak as we can so that we can really maximize the likelihood of that oak surviving. When we built our property on 70 Elena, we had, we put in 6 oaks, but we had 1 oak die on us around the construction. And that just didn't feel right. So we wanted to make sure that we were as far back as we could be. Also, the alternative locations that we did consider, to be honest, there's problems with the lines that go through the property in those locations. And I think that this was told to us or studied by our architect as being the right location for the gym. It would be much further away from 82 Elena, our neighbors, than our current guest houses. So the back of our guest house is 10 feet, which is an ADU on 70 Elena.
Right.
Is 10 feet away from 82 Elena, and their guest house is similarly 10 feet away from ours, 70 Elena property line. To help our neighbors, we actually planted an oak tree to shield their guest house because they did not have enough space behind their guest house to shield it. And so to be helpful to them, we planted that, and we're big fans of oaks, as you know, and so that was our purpose in doing that. So where the gym is will be much further forward. There is no noise, no light, there's no lighting that goes on the back of the gym that could disturb them than our ADU, and it's all being done to protect the telephone lines, the electrical lines that are in different parts of the property, and also to really protect the heritage oak, which is important to us.
Right. All right. Any questions? So the only thing I'd ask would, so when you had the discussion with your neighbors, they said that it sounded like there was a good discussion, but they just didn't agree.
I think they just didn't like the idea of a variance, is the sense that we got from them. My husband, who's on the phone, is the one who had the discussion with
I can
our
chime in.
neighbors.
Yeah, I think they're on our neighbors on the Zoom as well.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amish Mehta. I'm Shweta's husband and co-owner of the 2 properties. So as Shweta mentioned, what the variance that we're seeking would put the property farther away from their property line than the current ADUs. And I assured our neighbors that any concerns that they have about light or noise would be mitigated, both by the fact that the biggest building that's in question is a gym. We have no plans to put any lights at the back of the gym. And the main entry for our perspective would be from the other side of the property away from them. And it'd be a building being used primarily by my wife and myself. And the other building is really not much of an issue for them, and they've acknowledged that. So, and we're committed to putting any planting or anything else that we can do to help insulate concerns that we may have, just the way we did the last time. We try to put as many plants as we can. And if you don't have photographs of what our properties look like, but if you did have photographs, you'd be able to see how you really cannot see one property from the other today. And we're proposing to do more of the same. And then just the last point, just to kind of echo some of the points my wife has made, we have 4 or 5 neighbors surrounding this 84 Elena lot. And we really looked at it from the perspective of all of them to see what would be the most beneficial and least intrusive to all of them. The locations that were presented as options are actually not as viable as they look, because one of them is underneath a power line. And that power line is accessed by the town or PG&E multiple times a year on the 70 Elena property, and that extends all the way to the other property. So it would not be advisable to have a structure underneath those power lines from that perspective. And the other option that looks viable from a code perspective has been told to us as not as ideal from a fire truck turnaround perspective. And then it creates similar issues for 2 other neighbors that are neighboring on the other side of it. So we did look at these options. It isn't that we just came up with it willy-nilly. we felt that because of the 30-foot distance, which is so much greater than the 10-foot distance that we already share with them, that this might be something that the town might view favorably on.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think we have Paul Schlachter, the architect, on the phone as well. So any questions for him? He's done a really deep dive into all of this. He'd be able to answer too.
Yeah, the only question I had is, which any of you can answer, is the gym is going to be one story also?
One story. Everything is going to be one story, and we're actually trying and actively working to use prefab units to the extent that we can, so the amount of disruption to anybody around us will be minimal.
And if I could add to that point, we looked at the option of doing 2-story, and we absolutely are within code to do that. We believe a 2-story structure, which is absolutely something we could do as an alternative if this variance got rejected, would be worse for everybody involved, because light and leakage and all the issues that you have, if you can imagine the structure that's
We're
there,
really trying.
would be 2-story. So we think 1 story is in everybody's interest.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Town Planner Brittany Bendix, I just want to clarify that the 2-story volume could apply to the main residence, not the detached building.
Is the main residence one story or two?
1 story.
That's right.
Everything is 1 story to keep it as low as possible and as quick to construct as possible to create the least amount of disturbance to all. We have a similar situation with our neighbor on the other side on Barry Lane, and they've been very considerate to us, and we hope to pass that forward.
Right, any other questions?
Just one real quick, and maybe I missed something. Their particular concern is the circular driveway. How is that addressed, if I missed it?
No, I don't think they have a particular concern to the best of my knowledge. They just didn't like the idea that a variance was sought.
Because I'm looking at the letter, it says, "We are particularly concerned that the project also includes a driveway along their rear fence connecting the
I see.
driveways of 78."
I can talk to that. We are not going to be having a circular driveway, even though we could, because the prior property had a circular driveway. So we are actually adhering to the same driveway that the prior property had. So what 84 Elena originally had, we're only going to have part of that driveway, and the circular portion is being eliminated. That's why I think it's tree number 3 we're asking to get eliminated, because the driveway went around there. So this driveway would be a lot less onerous and encroach a lot less than what was grandfathered in for that property.
And the removal of tree number 3 is because of the proximity to the gym?
No, it's not the most beautiful tree, and it had a purpose when there was a circular driveway. Without the circular driveway, it doesn't have as much of a purpose. So we were hoping to actually have more of a turnaround for the fire truck, and not having that tree would allow for that fire truck to be a greater turnaround or an easier turnaround.
And we were proposing, as you can see in the plans, I believe, planting a numerous amount of trees on the property to replace the ones that we are requesting, the 2 that we're requesting to be removed.
Okay,
We really want this to feel like a park.
right. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, thank you. And hearing no more, there's nobody else online? All right, good, so go ahead. Who is it? Can you pop them up so I can see them?
Hi, this is Ann Stevens. I'm one of the neighbors at 82 Elena.
Yes, and we have your letter also, so thank you for coming. So go ahead.
Yes, so one of the challenges that we've had is there's been significant light bleed through with the existing structures that the Metas have currently. And they're not downlights, they actually face directly into our home. And we have had conversations with the owners about it. So they are currently aware of that. And we are concerned with these new structures. While we do really appreciate that they're 1 story, it appears that there are doors and entrances that will be facing our rear yard, and it's my understanding that they will be requiring lights. And so we're slightly concerned that if they continue to use the existing lights, that's going to be a bit of an issue. We've also, the biggest concerns that we've had, as we've outlined in the letter, is that we're concerned about privacy, we're concerned about noise and traffic, and we're concerned about light. So I really do feel it's not an issue that we have a problem with them requesting a variance. We wish that they had come to us to talk to us before hearing about it from the town. But we did reach out to them immediately once we learned of what they were requesting to try and have a conversation about it and understand what they were trying to do. But we've had some challenges, and so we really do feel strongly that this will adversely impact us. But we do appreciate, I mean, we recognize that there's going to be construction on this land, on this property, and we certainly, we want to be cooperative. We just want to make sure that it's not going to impact the value of our home and the livability of our home.
Thank you. So I have a question. I have a question for you. In one sense, the tree number 2 doesn't really shield that well because of its size and its features. If there was a way to add shielding along near the fence or along the fence, wouldn't that be a better do a better job of giving privacy than that tree?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were mostly concerned about the trees because of the noise from the driveway and the additional light and the additional traffic.
All right, good, because that tree doesn't really help with light abatement at all, the way its condition is right now.
Yeah, no, we weren't, that tree, we recognized that. That was more a concern because of the driveway.
All right. All right, thank you. All right, did you have something to add?
Oh, I was just going to say that the gym, which is the building that's in question with the variance, there are no entrances to the gym that faces 82 Elena.
Okay.
So in terms of light, there should be no issue. And the first time we heard about light bleed to them, and we have a lot of light bleed from a lot of properties around us, was on Sunday.
Okay.
So yes, we're happy to entertain any comments that they have, but when it came to our neighbors developing their property, that's their right. When it comes to us developing 84, that's ours. And so we're not in any way trying to not involve them, but it is our decision within the town's parameters what we do there. And our hope is that a park-like setting with one-story buildings that don't affect anybody would be additive and something to be grateful for, instead of a 2-story house that might take 3 to 5 years to build.
Right. All right, thank you. All right, any other questions?
You still have another speaker.
All right, go ahead. Who is it?
Paul, who's
Hold on. I think we're trying
Paul,
to.
There you go. You need to unmute yourself, Paul. Could you be unmuted?
The architect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
And introduce yourself, Paul.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. My name is Paul Schlachter. I'm with Apollo Architecture. I'm the architect for the Meadows on this project. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us today. Appreciate that. I think that Shweta did a great job in terms of detailing kind of what the proposed use is for us here at 84 Elena. And I just wanted to kind of consolidate some of the thoughts about this too. We looked at different locations on the property for this, and
You have to go down to the reactions.
I'm
We
sorry.
need to have one public comment at a time, please.
It's not a conversation. He has the floor. So go ahead, Paul.
Okay, thank you. So we looked at several different locations for the gym building on this property, And, where it is currently located, it is the farthest away from any structures that exist right now in terms of the neighbors. So we took that into account. We also looked at the idea of consolidating where the existing utilities are on the property from the single-family residence that was in this location on this property before. We also looked at consolidating all of the traffic and disturbance in terms of road construction on the property to one side of the property rather than working it into different parts of the project, which requires lots more grading and civil work. So that was something that we considered as well. These two buildings actually are only about 4 feet taller than the existing fence with the neighboring property. So not too concerned about visual impact from any of the neighbors surrounding. We're going to be planting more than 50 trees on this property to screen and shield from all the neighbors. Again, this is, as Shweta said, this is to create an internal garden, essentially, space. So by consolidating the buildings all to one side of the property, it enables us to get a bigger green space, essentially, without any structures in it. And that was super important to us to try and maximize this as a garden feeling and to screen it from all of the neighbors as much as possible.
All right. All right, thank you, Paul. Did somebody else want to say something?
If there are any further public comments, please raise your hand.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment. All right, go ahead. Dave or Ann, are you speaking?
Yeah, I think Dave is trying to speak. He was having some challenges trying to figure out how to react. There he is.
There, I think there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I think the host unmuted me. Thanks. I've been struggling a little bit to try and get unmuted here. I think as Ann said, our primary concern here has been around, light bleed and around noise and around, some of the issues, the privacy issues that she talked about. When we looked at the project, the buildings are clustered close to the end of the property that faces us. There is absolutely going to be a circular driveway that comes around the property from 70 to 84. If somebody wants to go out to the property, you'll find that the driveway already exists, that the back of the pool house has been demoed and a wider space created between the pool house and the fence. It's already been landscaped, it's already been gravelled in, and there are cars that can pass through that opening today. And so that we know, and when I talked to Amish last week, he told me they were going to have a driveway and it was going to come around the property, approximately outside of the dirt pile that you can see in the image of one of the heritage removal trees. And so we know there's going to be additional traffic back there. We know that there has to be light structures on the back of the main residence because there's a doorway back there. And, our experience in the other property, and I'm happy to submit pictures to the town, but the light fixtures that are on the back of the garage at 70 Elena are horizontally oriented. They're designed to light up the driveway. This was Amish's comment on Sunday, so that the kids can play basketball back there, which we don't have any problem with. And I agree, I don't know that he realized the extent of light bleed that we had through there, but the lights are very bright. They project horizontally. They come through one very thin layer of laurels, and they have for the past 6 or 7 years shined into the back of our house and continue to do so today. And he and I discussed some ways to potentially mitigate that, which I think is going to help it. Our concern is that we're going to just recreate that battle, over on the other part of the property where we've got, our master bedroom, we've got upper bedrooms, we've got offices, family rooms, everything in the house faces that backyard and faces that point on the fence. So in addition to the light from the house, we anticipate that we're going to see cars driving around, that driveway as they come in 70 and exit on 84. The two buildings, one is a gym, the other is a residence designed to host business meetings and for entertainment. And you would reasonably expect there that there's going to be some people coming and going, to that facility, and there's going to have to be parking for them. And as those cars turned around, as we learned the other night at an event that was hosted there, as those cars turned around, the headlights turn and they face directly into the backyard. And that fence by code is 6 feet high. The structures proposed are about 13 feet high, and they're built on top of a subfloor, which leads us to believe that the lights on those structures are going to be, a significant distance off the ground and will, project over that fence. And so, and what I told Amish is that we would prefer that the buildings be pushed back into the normal setback. And then we work together to create an extensive, buffer zone, a landscaping buffer zone between where the driveway is going to come through there. Where the light comes through and, create a wide landscaping zone that has both oak trees in it and lower shrub, instead of just having a relatively thin layer of screening there.
All right, Dave, all right, so I've got the issues, I think. Are there any other issues? There's lights, there's traffic, there's a setback, there's the trees. Are there any other issues? I'm gonna bring this to an end so that we don't spend the whole day.
Sorry about that.
All right, so does anybody have any other issues other than those right now? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. I'm going to get it back to the commission for discussion and action. All right. So I'm not seeing anything that's unmitigatable here, but also flag lots are always a pain for me from the standpoint of they're an automatic exception in terms of they are special case in terms of the setback. And technically, in my mind, the setback is a huge setback from the street. And as I drove on this property, there's if we could mitigate the impact there's the concerns about that Dave and Anna brought up. It's a better use of the property to have. Let me tell you, I had a one-story Eichler next door to me that turned into a two-story helicopter pad with a lot of light bleeding out. So we definitely, anytime you get a chance to have a one-story structure, take it. And that tree is not a good-looking tree compared to what could be there to mitigate the views. So I'm not having a problem with offsetting. Taking out number 2 with the right landscaping around it. I wouldn't take out number 3 just because it's ugly. I just say, okay, fine, you get an ugly tree. And over time it'll take care of itself maybe. But it actually strikes me with that tree number 2 out, it actually allows for the driveway to be pulled back farther away from the fence, and then more trees align the fence, and then just make sure they're not trees that have roots that spread out and ruin their pool or whatever else there is back there. So
the driveway's not in, or it is in?
It's just a rock. I mean, I've got a picture of it. It's just rock that's laid out so that they don't have to drive through mud. I think they're talking about the fact that right now there's a rock on both sides of the tree. So if the tree's out, I'm going to say that you wouldn't be wanting to put a driveway that close to the fence, but I don't see that on a plan that says that. That's the one thing the plan I have doesn't have a driveway outlined.
Town planner Brittany Bendix, there is no driveway outlined on any of the plan sheets that we have seen, but I did pull up the aerial photograph so that you can see where the existing driveway is. And so you can see how it continues onwards to the other property. And so it presumably could function if it were retained as a all-encompassing driveway.
Yeah, we're private, we're back here now, so if I open it up, it's going to take a lot longer. All right, so any other comment?
Well, yeah, I think I think it would be, so it's on the egregious side to consider that gym, my yard. I wouldn't have a problem with 9 square feet of an open area, although I'm not exactly sure what the entrance and egress for this single-family residence are, where it's located, where the entertainment area is going to be, et cetera. But I argued vociferously, as Brittany will remember, about any shrinking of the rear setback. And in a way, this, even though it's a front setback, it's the issue that's typical with rear setbacks where it encroaches on the neighbor's property. So I don't see how we can, quite frankly, I don't care too much about the trees. I think they're both ugly and could be superseded by something nicer, but I have a real problem with that gym.
I would also agree that the accessory building is an issue because it is significantly over the setback or alternative locations.
Anybody? What? You know,
It would be helpful if we had a clear picture of the circulation
Right.
pattern.
So here's the situation for me is that without a real plan, I don't know what I'm approving. All right. So the concept of this to me is doable. I'm in this situation, I'm less worried about the accessory building encroachment for two reasons. One, because it's a one story, and two, because we have the capability to mitigation, and three, because it's farther away than the building that was there. So all those things are better for me than it was, and I believe it's mitigatable. But because I don't have a plan that shows me that, I'm not comfortable approving what we have in front of us. But I'm also, so I guess the flexibility of this would be to continue this and have you come back with a more specific plan that we might be able to work with, because tree number 2, for me, it'll actually help the neighbors getting traffic and things away from the fence, and allow space for trees to be put in there that'll be lower trees that'll actually mitigate light, mitigate noise, and mitigate the view. And also the way that it's set up, the usable area behind these buildings the buildings will actually help in terms of noise abatement and things like that. So if we get the right plan, it's a better outcome for the neighbors and a better use of the property. If the concept of what I'm talking about is there, as opposed to the vision, the idea of it, I would want to see what we're actually approving.
I'd also say that I would like to see that the neighbors are comfortable
Right.
with this change, and maybe some views of, says there are no entrances, but I'd like to see the view of these properties, see what I'm kind of surprised that there are absolutely no windows or doors on that side of the building.
Yeah. So I'm not going to open a public yet. Because if I do, then I'm going to open up everybody, and I don't want to do that. All right. So we could either move on it to continue it, give you more time. Yeah. Well, we don't have it here. So good.
Chair Lane, you do have it in attachment 2. on the floor plans.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then there is an axiometric drawing of the gym. I can pull it up on the screen if you'd like.
Yeah, I've got that, but I don't see a driveway, and I've got all.
Correct. The driveway is not shown, but in terms of the lighting and the windows and the location of entrances, we do have that. So I just wanted to make sure that
Right,
that was
yeah,
clear.
I've seen that. Well, so I'm open to whatever the board wants.
I like the idea of continuing it. I also agree that we're getting conflicting reports on that proposed driveway, and a neighbor who says, well, it's there, it's already laid out, and the owner who's saying that that's not what it is. I don't have a problem with the tree removals, and I am impressed with the replanting of the 5 trees along the short part of that property line where tree number 2 is. So I don't think that's an issue. For me, it's has to do with the variance and making sure that we're clear on all the details of the plan, like you said, Eric.
Yeah, I would really like to see that the neighbors
Yes.
are in agreement that this is an acceptable solution, whatever is devised.
And if there aren't cars going by, because I think that's light bleed as well. If you have cars going by and if you're entertaining, and that may not be happening. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little confused on the driveway situation, but the neighbors seem to think that might happen. We just need to make sure that that would not happen. And I agree on the trees. It's always difficult though, because you set a precedent. You know,
Well, any flag lot for me, the flag lot has a lot of flexibility in terms of the interpretation of the impact and things. Because it's so far back there. I mean, you had to drive all the way down to even see any part of the property really. So anyway, I'm going to move to continue this to a date where we can have some more specific plans, and then you get a chance to talk to your neighbor and work things out. And I think we're on the path to get a solution here that'll be good for everybody. And I just want to make sure that everybody feels that way. So I'll move for continuance to.
Do you want to continue to a date uncertain? If we do that, then it would have to be publicly renoticed. If we continue it to our October meeting, that seems quick. We don't have a November hearing though. So the alternative to an October meeting is it would be heard at our December meeting.
We don't have an October meeting because of.
Sorry, we don't have a November
Yeah, I
meeting
know.
because of the holiday.
So let's just continue to October. If you can get your stuff together, fine. If you can't, then we'll move it to December. All right? I know that, but right now, if we move right now, we will deny it. Would you rather have that? I know, but I'm not gonna, we have what we need right now. Where the choices are to deny it and then you appeal it to the town council, or we continue it to next meeting. So I'm gonna move that we continue it to the October.
I would second that.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? All right. All right. Work with Brittany on that and, all right. And make sure your neighbor's involved with what you're going to submit. All right. I know. But
Thank you.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank everyone for showing up and making your case, and hopefully we can all work this out. All right. Thank you. All right. Keeping Sandy from a very important engagement, so she broke away just for this meeting. And I blown it up
Was
for
it
her.
red wine or white wine?
Yeah, right.
All right, so we have item number 4C, which is the consideration of the recommendation of this for modification to the housing plan. Say that correctly?
Town Planner Brittany Bendix, once again, I'll wait for Michael to bring up the slides. We'll go over what's in the staff report fairly quickly.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I do
mean,
want to acknowledge.
There's no way that we can argue with all the minutia in these changes. I mean,
Well, let me
we're
get my
relying on-
presentation.
relying on staff.
I want to shout out to my colleague here, Jerry Martin, who did a lot of the collecting of code from the state legislature and also tracking current legislation that is still even awaiting the governor's consideration. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is a presentation on an update to our ADU ordinance. Our recommendation is that you conduct this public hearing and then pass a resolution that recommends to City Council that we approve these updates. After the Planning Commission makes a recommendation, it then goes to City Council for an introduction and first reading. Sometimes we're able to combine those meetings into one, depending on how extensive the conversation is. And then there's always a second reading that follows thereafter. So we're looking at least 2 more meetings with the City Council. Next slide, please. This proposal covers at least 4 laws that were passed in 2024 and 2 laws that are currently passed by the state legislature, but now we're in this 30-day period where we're waiting to see whether or not the governor is going to sign them into law. As I go through each bill, I will give a summary of them. With these 2 that are awaiting the governor's signature, they're both things that I think are likely to pass, which is why I'm moving them forward. If the town's ADU ordinance is somehow not in compliance with state law, we could lose the ability to apply our local standards for ADUs, the kind of special things that we've carved out. So that's one of the reasons I'm trying to get ahead a little bit of what the current legislation is. But as you'll see, there are a substantial numbers of sections that do change relative to these updates. Most of the changes are minor, they're clarification stemming off of what the laws have done. So let's jump in. The first law, and this requires a lot of changes, is a change in the numbering system. So these numbers on the left here represent the previous sections of the California Government Code. Those were kind of embedded. The state legislature thought, hey, it would be better if we have them live in their own consolidated section, and that's why they've been renumbered. That, of course, means that everywhere I've referenced the old numbers, I now have to reference the new numbers. So that was a substantial text change. Next slide. SB 1211 clarifies that a local agency cannot impose any objective development or design standards on ADUs that are protected by state law. These are state exempt units you'll hear referred to. The state likes to call them out as 66323 units. What it's getting at is generally those 800 square foot units that are allowed to be 4 feet from the setback. It affects our ability to require and limit where their entrances can be. Heritage tree ordinance, we're clarifying that. Oh, sorry, go back. I'm not done. There's clarifications on the heritage tree ordinance in terms of how it can apply to ADU units on multifamily lots, which I'll cover that update as well. Privacy, screening, and landscape requirements. When we last adopted an update, this was in 2024, one of the things the town wanted to do, I believe it came from the council, was have an 8-foot tall fence along any shared property line for the full extent of the property line if the applicant was doing the 800 square foot detached ADU and using the 4-foot setback. We cannot now require that. What we've done is I've changed the language to facilitate it. We even heard tonight that, the fence requirement only allows you to go up to 6 feet. This at least gives a property owner developing an ADU using the state exempt parameters the option to go up to 8 feet is somewhat of a good neighbor gesture. Which is definitely something that I can use in my toolbox when I have neighbors coming in with concerns about, hey, I just found out my neighbor is doing an ADU 4 feet from my property line. at that point, I can at least try and encourage that the applicant to consider a taller fence. So that's one of the reasons I've put that in there.
The other alternative would be make an 8-foot requirement for everything in the city, right? That would be the same thing.
Yeah, and an allowance. And some jurisdictions do that. You'll see that it's 6 feet solid and then 2 feet lattice screening. You could do 8-foot solid citywide.
Yeah, that's, I just want to say.
We talked about that quite a bit during the multifamily development standards, and
necessary.
I had some mixed reaction, which is why I didn't go there.
Yeah, okay.
Also, it limits our ability to deny an ADU over exterior lighting requirements, as well as internal connection requirements. So all of that language was slightly tuned to be more specific, that if you're using the state exempt ADU parameters, we can't apply these requirements.
What is an internal connection requirement?
The internal connection requirement had to do with whether or not you could have a connection between an ADU and a detached garage. Or if you were doing an ADU and a detached garage, can there be a connection between the two? Next slide, please. Oh, did you have a question?
No,
Okay.
just frustrated over the light thing. So you can just put a light in and your neighbor 4 feet away from it.
The next requirement has to do with the number of accessory dwelling units on a multifamily property. And this one can take a lot of cognitive power, so I want to go through it very specifically. The state law used to be that on a multifamily property, regardless of whether or not the multifamily building was existing or proposed, you could have no more than 2 accessory dwelling units. For new construction, that's the same, that's not changing for a detached ADU. Well, the change is applicable to existing multifamily dwellings, where it says that you can have 8 ADUs, 8 detached ADUs on an existing multifamily site, or up to 8 units. I think Chair Lane had asked me, well, what about a duplex? So if you have a duplex, you can only have 2 detached ADUs. In order to have up to 8, you have to have 8 actual existing multifamily units.
Basically in an apartment complex.
Yes. So this, we would look at this relative to some of our RM10 properties.
With no parking requirements.
Correct.
Amazing. I know, it's just totally unbelievable. I mean, it's like upside down planning 101. Okay, go on. You're on a
Well, I
roll.
will note what I did not change was the preamble section of the AMC, or Atherton Municipal Code, Chapter 17, that asserts that the town is adopting these alignment provisions in contest or in protest. So that still stays. Next slide, please. AB 1332 doesn't necessarily require a broad update. It is a program initiated by the state that allows a pre-approved plan process. So just taking a step back and explaining to you what the program is. An architect is allowed to come into the town and say, I want to get approved for just a pre-approved plan set. And then they can then sell these pre-approved plans to a future applicant who already has the town's stamp of approval. This is what it really comes down to are the floor plans and elevations that they can then take and add a site plan to. And then the building department also requires a geotechnical report to give information on soils for foundation information. So this is what the pre-approved plan means. When a property owner submits a pre-approved plans, the town has to review that and can take that plan set into consideration within 30 days. So what we've added here is the state language relative to our approval timeline. I will say that our building department moves really fast, and these are the type of projects that would come in and require very limited planning review. All we would look at is setbacks effectively, and they are well in advance of the 30 days, so I'm not necessarily worried about us meeting that. I more just want to make sure that we're asserting that that's our requirement per state law so that it's clear and transparent for everyone. Next slide. AB 2553 changed the definition of a major transit stop. It used to be that it would be a major transit stop would be a stop that was at the intersection of 2 or more bus routes with a frequency service interval of 15 minutes or less. That's subsection C there on the left. That's now changed to be 20 minutes. So it's given this a little bit more flexibility to be applied. And what it does is allow for exemptions on parking requirements and about 2 feet taller in height if you're within a certain distance of this stop. Next slide. So here we get into the first bill, AB 462, that was a pass. This bill was passed in response to the fires in Southern California earlier this year. Really what it boils down to is changing the requirements around certificate of occupancies. A certificate of occupancy is what you need to be able to actually occupy a building after it's constructed and live in it. So most jurisdictions, most codes are set up to say, if you're constructing a new single family home and an ADU, you can't get a certificate of occupancy on the ADU until you have the certificate of occupancy on the single family home. This is effectively emergency response planning by saying you can live in your ADU if it gets done first, because it's probably easier to just build an ADU than reconstruct the single family home that would have been demised in an emergency. Okay.
That's the only one that's made sense so far.
Well, and that's, but this is why I've included it, even though it's not yet signed.
Right.
I have a hard time believing it won't be signed.
Right.
Next slide, please.
No, it probably won't because that's right.
This is another one that has not yet been signed, but it's fairly straightforward compared to the other ones. This one is just aligning the definition for junior accessory dwelling unit to include the term interior livable space. That's consistent with the ADU definition. So that's that's kind of a cleanup from my perspective for state law, making it consistent. And then also they've upped the review times to 15 days for review of a JADU and an ADU submittal. I believe it used to be 30 for just the comment letter. So it's still, we have 60 days to act once we believe that the project is actionable, which is quite a bit of time. We're well in advance of these timelines. Again, I'm not worried about it. It's just a matter of putting it into the code to make sure that we are asserting our adherence to state law. Next slide. Finally, I've added some items that I, as town planner, and my staff see at the counter and in applications that I need to bring up for clarification. We have had an applicant who has submitted or asked about a proposal where they have a detached garage and then they add stuff onto it that's part of a 800 square foot or less ADU to then stack the ADU on top of the garage. I don't believe that's consistent with the intent of our provision to allow ADUs on top of garages, because the whole point was to make sure that if you did the second floor detached ADU, you were meeting our town setbacks. And so I want greater clarification in that code to help back me up during permit review on that clarification. So that's the ADU above detached garage. We've also got some pushback on architects relative to the attached ADUs. This is when an ADU is attached to a single-family home. We already have some language in the planning code that talks about it needs to be, that for an attached structure, not an attached ADU, it has to be 7 feet. This language is coming from the state where it also clarifies that it needs to be structurally, it needs to structurally abut. So this is helping me kind of implement our intent. Floor area exemptions, needing to clarify that there are no floor area limitation on ADU conversions. So if you had a 2,000, our maximum detached ADU size is 1,200 square feet. If you have an existing 2,000 square foot garage and you want to convert the entire thing to an ADU, you can do that. The state allows that. It doesn't put a cap of 1,200 square feet on it, and you have to figure out what to do with the other 800.
So you then, under those conditions, you could come up forward with a plan with a garage with the intent to convert it to an ADU as soon as you move into it.
Correct. However, there are limitations on the amount of square footage that you can have as detached structures in our R1A and R1B properties. So we've already put in some stop gaps there for a loophole.
Okay.
And then there's existing state language that the multifamily ADUs don't have a limitation on square footage. We've added that in as clarification as well. Next slide. Basement and stories, this is pretty minor. This is just asserting that basements don't qualify as towards the 2-story limit. That's pretty clear in our definitions, but it helps to reassert that. Entrance requirements, there's the requirement that all entries face the interior lot. The code was not specific that you could only have entries facing the interior of the lot, so people would provide more than one and say, hey, I have my interior facing entry, and then be able to do one on the exterior anyway. So closing that loophole, but then I also have to say, well, this doesn't apply to the state exempt ADUs. And then ADU rental and ownership. This is, again, referencing already existing state language that just wasn't clear that there is an exemption for separate ownership of ADUs if you're a nonprofit organization. So this is something that when Jerry went and helped me research comment letters that the state has given on other jurisdictions, we saw a lot of feedback from the state on this particular issue. So it wasn't necessarily something that I included in 2024. I didn't think I'd need to. HCD didn't give us any feedback on our ordinance, so just to be safe, I've put it in there. Next slide. So next steps. I've already touched on this a little bit. City Council, once we're done with City Council, then we submit the ordinance to HCD. Last time HCD, all they said was, thank you very much. We've received it. You were done. Not a single comment. I think they were more focused on our housing element. So there is a possibility we'll actually get some feedback now. And then hopefully eventually HCD certification on our ADU ordinance and moving on with probably potential changes for next year as well. Next slide. My recommendation is to adopt the changes we've proposed tonight, and I'm available for any other questions. Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, I'm confused. Formal motion recommended. There's a draft planning commission resolution. Which one are we?
The motion should be to adopt the resolution as a recommendation. Sorry, that wasn't more clear. But I like that you're ready and eager to pull with the motion.
Stupid. All right, we're formally recommending that we accept the accept the amendments, correct? That's what you want?
Yes.
All right, I move the planning commission recommends city council determination of CEQA exemption, recommend adoption of the, to the Atherton Municipal Code, chapter 17.2, accessory dwelling units based on the findings as outlined in the outstanding staff report.
Thank you. Thank Jerry.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Begrudgingly aye. Is that a section?
right.
All right.
Aye.
All right. Staff report, anything that we need to know?
Yes, actually, Commissioner Polito asked me to address the fact that we did have an important bill pass the state legislature. It's yet to be signed. That's SB 79. What it does is dramatically increase density on lots within a quarter mile of the Menlo Park Caltrain station to 100 dwelling units per acre, up to, I believe, 8 stories.
I was gonna say, that's got to be at least 8 stories.
There's nothing within Atherton within.
There is actually a portion of Glenwood along Laurel. That's kind of one of the further extents of it.
There's 6 properties, right?
Yes. So that is something that we're jumping on, my team, trying to get an understanding of exactly what the rules are. There's quite a bit coming out of the state, both last year that's now being implemented, as well as the potential SB 9 implications. So we're trying to understand exactly what the trade-offs are, especially as we, one of the properties within the boundary has submitted an SB 9 application. So is it better to see them move forward under SB 79 if it passes, or as an SB 9 application? These are things that we're working through.
That's a decision they have to make based on
Right.
money.
Lot split. Yeah, rather than 100 units.
The density on that again?
100 dwelling units per acre. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they will pursue.
Right, I understand.
Right. It's just the
They
upper
could if
limit.
they-
Those are the broad outlines of the bill and the implications. So that's what we'll be looking at. There was another bill, for example, that became effective July 1st that allows you to do, it's like SB 9, but instead of 2 lots, you can do subdivisions of 10 lots. We found that when you actually get into the weeds of the eligibility requirements, lots in Atherton are actually too large to be eligible for the most part. So a lot of the 1 acre vacant properties that people were interested in applying this to won't qualify for it because they don't meet the eligibility requirements.
So they change them.
Well, and then that's for
All
next
right.
year's legislative update.
All right, is that it?
That's it.
Do you have any good news?
It's fall.
All right, commissioner report, any commissioner reports? All right, then we're gonna get Sandy back to her important discussion. All right, I'll need a motion to adjourn. I move to adjourn.
Oh, there you go.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Sandy is second. All right, thank you. Well.